Well, where do you think the money is coming from behind the civil rights movement?
From the Communist Party, from the Zionist Christ-killing Jews. And I say Christ-killing Jews because there have not been a flood since they crucified Christ, and their relatives can be traced back to the ones that's running the streets today.
This is America's Georgia, July 7th, 1962. The Mavin Griffin kickoff.
Stand up, senators, and let us all see you.
This is the opening day of the Mavin Griffin campaign for the governorship. Thousands of Georgia supporters converge on the southwest Georgia city. The motorcades come from every corner of the state. License plates show that virtually every county is represented. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, to cheering and applause, Mavin Griffin begins, as he himself would say, to shell down the cord.
My fellow Georgians, today marks the beginning of an old-fashioned revival in Georgia politics. During the next 4 years, we are going to put some old-fashioned honesty, integrity, and morality in the government of old Georgia. We are going to return to constitutional government, and we are going to eliminate government by the edicts of the federal judiciary.
I had made speeches before the United Klans of America, and they were the only organization that ever went on record after I had talked for 2 solid hours on the viciousness of the Federal Reserve Corporation and how it has built the taxpayers and American citizens out of all the money, and that Great Britain has removed the bank from the international bankers, and their bank is back under the crown.
We are going to keep Georgia decent, I promise you. When I was your governor, we kept the public schools of Georgia segregated and open.
I think the nigger has rights in this country. He should have equal rights, but separate rights. It's worked for 100 years in the South, and I think it will work now. But if you was the nicest fella in the world and Lyndon Johnson said I had to associate with you every day, I'd tell Lyndon Johnson to go straight to hell because I would not associate with you.
Unfortunately, there are some elements of our citizenry who subscribe to and spread the iniquitous and false philosophy that Georgia cannot properly develop her great resources and at the same time maintain and preserve our integrity and the Georgia way of life. During the past 4 years, this state has inaugurated a plan of token integration. This token integration is the first step towards massive race mixing in Georgia. Our sister states of South Carolina, Mississippi, and Alabama have had governors and are getting governors who've had the courage and were resolute. And my friends, the lily-livered word inevitable is not in their vocabulary. There is no integration in these states. The destruction of state sovereignty and destruction of the rights of the individual have come only where the states furnished weak leadership, where the towel of surrender was thrown in, and in many instances, before the first shot was fired.
In this automobile, Reserve Lieutenant Colonel Lemuel Penn was killed by a shotgun blast while riding through Colbert, Georgia. Arrested for this crime were 4 Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. 2 Klansmen were tried and acquitted. In a few short months, 5 murders, 13 alleged members of the Ku Klux Klan said to be involved in the killings.
I read in my history books that the nigger man, the nigger race, was an inferior race. And that was a history that was taught me when I was in school. That hadn't been too long ago.
They always have been.
My friends, I will tolerate no acts of violence of any kind, but I shall establish a climate of acceptance in Georgia to preserve and to protect our great institutions, traditions, customs, and the Georgia way of life. It is time, Mr. Governor, it is time to take a phrase from you, to stand up and be counted in Georgia. It is time to stand up and be counted for Georgia.
When such an order as this moves in and takes over the police power, you are completely at their mercy. And their atrocities and their violence can be visited on anybody that disagrees with them in any given situation.
Is the governorship of Georgia for sale? Is the governorship of Georgia for sale to the Ohio-owned Atlanta Integrationist Press? Is the governorship of Georgia for sale to the Atlanta political machine of Ivan Allen, Ralph McGill, and Martin Luther King?
The publisher of the Atlanta Constitution, Ralph McGill, explains why citizens are powerless to protest in such situations.
In a small community, you too often find that the sheriff is a member, or that the deputies are members. And the poor white man, or more particularly the poor Negro in a small community, he well knows that he has no protection at all, that the law isn't going to help him because the law is more often than not in the Klan or sympathetic with it in the small southern community.
The Grand Dragon of Georgia, Calvin Craig, confirmed that law enforcement officers are Klansmen.
We have policemen, we have sheriffs, we have farmers, we have mechanics, and myself, I'm an operating engineer.
Is the governorship of Georgia for sale to the NAACP? Now, is the governorship of Georgia for sale? Is the governorship of Georgia for sale to the Ohio-owned Atlanta Integrationist Press? Is the governorship of Georgia for sale to the Atlanta political machine of Ivan Allen, Ralph McGill, and Martin Luther King? Is the governorship of Georgia for sale to the NAACP? My fellow Georgians, is the governorship of Georgia for sale to anybody, any place, any time? The answer, of course, you have given in a resounding no. Are you with me in this campaign? Will you work for me? And on this question, put up your hand. Will you vote for me? Thank you, and God bless you and everyone.
And so Mavin Griffin, one of the greatest campaigners in Georgia political history, is off and running. This has been a television presentation of the Mavin Griffin Kickoff. the opening rally in the Griffin for Governor campaign.